Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Final Take. I am Justin Pomplin, and joining me tonight are Ben Zatuni and Nathan Hansen. Guys, how was your weekend at WBA's?
It was a good weekend. It was a lot of fun Friday, hanging out with everyone. Won a few awards on Saturday. I mean, obviously wish we would have won all of them, but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it was a good experience. My first time going. It would have been nice if we could have won a couple more awards, especially in the sports area, but it was a good time.
Yeah, unfortunately I didn't go. I worked at the women's hockey games. All right, tonight we discuss the latest in Pointer athletics, the Wisconsin Badgers in the college basketball world, the NFL scouting combine, and our Motorsports Minute. We begin tonight with Pointer men's basketball. The Pointers dropped their WIAC first-round matchup last Wednesday night at Eau Claire, 72-66, ending any hopes of them making the NCAA tournament and defend their championship. Guys, they had a lot of young talent this year, only 2 seniors that played a lot of minutes. What can we expect from them next season?
I think guys like Ethan Bublitz and Zach Gadeke are going to be the ones that are going to really take control of this team next year with Sean McGann and Stephen Pelkoff for leaving. I think those are the guys that got to look on. They relied on them somewhat this year, but next year I think they're going to have a huge role.
I think with Ethan Bublitz being a point guard and him getting so much experience in playing time as a freshman, that's only going to benefit him getting used to playing in Coach Semling's system, and I really think he has a chance to be a great player in his 4 years here at Stevens Point.
Yeah, you're definitely going to rely on Bublitz a lot. Gadeke, you had the juniors class. They had Jertson. He started for a little while, but he never really played a lot. Who else? Brad Freeborn, he played a little bit during the year. Retzloff started a few games at the end. And Caden Unti, he didn't really play. He had an injury at the beginning of the year, but their upperclassmen for next year really didn't play a lot this year. So they're definitely relying on those sophomores going into juniors next year, and Gadeke, Luke Syker, and then a bunch of freshmen this year. Tauber played a lot. Obviously, Bublitz had a couple good games, and Drew Frederickson played some minutes. So definitely got a lot of young talent coming back for next season. Well, now moving on to Pointers women's basketball. The Pointers were defeated in the WIAC semifinals last Thursday at Oshkosh 38-21. However, that didn't stop the Pointers from receiving an at-large bid into the NCAA tournament, where they were selected as a host for the first and second round this weekend. Coming here to Stevens Point to play will be second-ranked and undefeated George Fox University out in Oregon, where they will take on St. Norbert at 5 o'clock p.m. in the Berg Gym. Following that game, the Pointers will host DePauw University at 7:30 p.m. The reason the Pointers are hosting and not second-ranked George Fox is due to NCAA financial regulations. They didn't want to fly 3 teams all the way out to Oregon when they decided they could bus a team from Indiana here and a team from Green Bay here and only have to fly a team from Oregon out here. So that's why the Pointers are hosting. They didn't have to travel out to Oregon. Well, what do you guys see in that first game between George Fox and St. Norbert?
I think that's going to be a blowout. I think George Fox is ranked number two, and they're undefeated for a reason. St. Norbert's had their up and downs. They've had a decent year, though, but I think George Fox is going to have their way with them.
Yeah, kind of just going off what Nate said, they're undefeated, 27-0. St. Norbert comes in with the record of 21-4. I really don't see St. Norbert putting up much of a challenge for George Fox.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be much of a game either. I think George Fox is going to win this one handily. The Pointers, they're ranked 20th, and we went on the road and we beat St. Norbert. St. Norbert, they play in a weak conference. George Fox, I think this is the second or third straight year they've won their conference. They're undefeated. They press a lot. I looked up their pregame reports. They had one player averaging over 3 steals a game, so their press, I think, is really going to affect St. Norbert. They had another player averaging 17 points, 6 boards a game, and another with 11 points a game with 90% at the free throw line, so you definitely don't want to follow her if you get behind. But I think it'll definitely be a blowout, and George Fox will be making it to Saturday. Now, for the Pointers, they will take on DePauw University. They've had 3 common opponents this year, Illinois Wesleyan, UW Eau Claire, and there was one other one that I don't remember. They each beat Illinois Wesleyan. We split with Eau Claire, and they lost to Eau Claire. So what do you guys expect from this game?
I think it's going to be a very even matchup. I think the way the Pointers win is because they have that home court advantage, like you talked about the reasoning, and they got to take advantage of that for sure. I mean, they have it. Probably shouldn't have had it. They got to make use of it, that's for sure.
Yeah, they definitely have to take advantage of the home court advantage. It's their first time hosting since 2011 and the first time they've made the tournament since 2013. And the Pointers, they only have 2 seniors this year, so it's a young team. It's going to be good experience for the younger group of players to get that experience of playing in the national tournament, especially at home.
Yeah, definitely. This is a surprise that they got the host, and they definitely need to take advantage of the home court advantage. They'll have the seniors. This could potentially be their last games of their careers, so they're going to play hard. And I think they can pull it out. They've shown that they're tough to beat at home. DePaul, they've had the common opponents. They're from a little smaller conference. They're receiving votes. They're going to be a tough team to beat, but I think the Pointers can pull it out.
And they're coming off a game where they scored just 21, so I know Coach Egner is going to have them fired up and ready to play.
Yeah, defensively, the Pointers are just fine, but they need to find something on offense. Well, now since we got George Fox, obviously we picked Point versus George Fox. Who wins that game?
I got to say George Fox. I mean, they've looked dominant all year, and the Pointers haven't. At some points, some games that the Pointers won, they haven't looked dominant, and they still won them, so they've gotten pretty lucky there. But I think George Fox is going to kind of take it to Point.
I'm going to have to go with George Fox, too, even though the Pointers have the home court advantage. I do think that the Pointers are going to put up a little bit of a challenge. It's going to be a close game, but in the end, George Fox wins.
Yeah, I definitely think George Fox is going to win, especially if they have a press. The Pointers have struggled against the press this year, and I think George Fox wins handily. Well, it's going to be a long weekend for me, statting all those games. All right, moving on to men's hockey. The third-ranked men's hockey team tied Eau Claire on Friday night 2-2 before defeating them on Saturday 2-1 to advance to the WIAC championship game at River Falls this Saturday night. How can the Pointers take down River Falls and win the conference tournament and possibly get a berth into the NCAA tournament?
I mean, they've had the potential to beat anyone this year. They beat Adrian when Adrian was ranked number 1, so they just got to show up and play. I mean, they've had a few games where they haven't started strong at all, and they've come out flat, and they've been behind in those games, and they haven't been able to come back. So they have to score first, and they have to maintain that lead throughout the game. I mean, they have to start fast for sure.
Yeah, they played River Falls twice this year. They split the series. They won 4-3 at home, and then they lost at River Falls 3-2. I think they can beat them, but they're going to have to take advantage of those opportunities, especially early in the game. And if they get the lead, hold on to the lead. They've had a little bit of – that's been their weak point this season, letting teams come back into the game once they get those big leads.
Yeah, I think definitely getting that quick start. They scored 2 goals in the first period, I think, in each game against Eau Claire. And they held on for the win only on Saturday night, and they tied on Friday. But definitely a quick start for them. If they get behind, they get down, and sometimes they don't play their best. So quick start, I think, is definitely key for them. Well, the Pointers women's hockey team also earned a berth into the WIAC championship game at River Falls, which will be at 2:05 p.m. on Saturday. The Pointers defeated Superior 7-1 on Friday night and then 2-1 on Saturday in overtime. What is the key for the Pointers women's team to bring home a championship in River Falls?
They got to stay on the ice. I mean, Ben and I were at the game on Saturday, and they had, I think, close to 10 penalties. They're always getting a little too physical. They just got to stay on the ice. There's a lot of situations where they get put in a man down or even 2 men down in a few situations. They have to just stay on the ice and play their game. And they had to work through a few injuries. They had a few injuries on Saturday, so the line switches were a little different. So they got to find a way that works for them, and they just got to play their game and stay on the ice mainly.
Yeah, going off what Nate said, I think they have to do better on special teams. They did a good job killing the power plays, but when they were on the power play, they weren't able to take advantage of the opportunity. And then Saturday at the game, Kat Jedlow left with an injury, and she's been a big part of their offense this season. So if the Pointers get her back in time for the game on Saturday, that could provide an added boost for them.
Yeah, you're talking about special teams. I think on the Friday night game when they scored 7 goals, they had 3 goals on the power play. So special teams definitely going to be key. They split during the regular season, so it's anyone's game. Well, the UWSP softball team began its season over the weekend in Rochester, Minnesota, where they went 1-3 on the weekend. Now, this is a young team. I read on the UWSP Athletics website they only have like 7 returning players and 12 freshmen and a couple transfers. What is the season outlook for them this year?
I think it's what the record is now, 1-3. I think that's probably what they'll go the next 4 games all the way through the year, 1-3. It's a tough time for them. They're kind of in a rebuilding phase, if you want to call it that. They've got a lot of young players, like you said, and that's not going to be to their advantage this year.
I think this is kind of the way most of the sports teams here at Point are. They're a young team with players in the process of getting used to the atmosphere of playing college sports and getting used to the way those respective coaches want them to play. So it's going to be an up and down year, and and it's going to be the players getting used to playing college softball and getting used to the routine that the coach wants them to get into.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of growing pains with a lot of freshmen, especially in a conference like the WIAC. Well, they return to action on March 17th when they travel to Florida for 13 games over spring break. We will take a short commercial break, but when we return, we talk Wisconsin Badger basketball, other college hoops, and the WIAA high school playoffs.
Got an itch to be on air? Join the SPTV News crew. Being an on and off air reporter will help you gain experience in interviewing, shooting and editing video, and reporting behind the anchor desk. Join SPTV News, pointing to you.
My name is Jackie Lang. I graduated from UW Stevens Point in 2013. I started off coming to general members meetings, showing up for the shows. From the first show that I was a part of, I just absolutely loved it. Now that I've graduated, I currently work at WFRV TV, which is Channel 5, the CBS affiliate in Green Bay. I also freelance for Lashbro Visual Communications. All of my experience, all of my knowledge came from SPTV, and I will forever be grateful to this organization for that.
Welcome back. The Wisconsin Badgers continued their winning ways this past week when they went on the road to defeat 8th-ranked Iowa 67-59 and then returned home on Sunday, on Senior Day, to defeat Michigan 68-57. The Badgers have now won 10 out of their last 11 and improved their conference record to 11-5 on the season after starting just 1-4. They are now currently the second seed in the Big Ten after tiebreakers. Did you guys expect this from them after the way they started 9-9 on the year?
No, I thought they were going to be down at the bottom of that conference. The way things started out with all the pieces that they lost last year, that was going to be a problem. That was going to be something they couldn't overcome. And then everyone kind of knew this was going to be Bo Ryan's last season no matter what. And then after he left especially, I thought they were doomed. But somehow they turned around. Ethan Happ's played a huge role. Nigel Hayes has stepped up. Bronson Kading's been there at some points this season. So I think they'll finish that. I think they will remain in that top four, and I think they might even upset a few teams in the tournament.
I mean, go back to the beginning of the season. That first game, what they lose to Western Illinois, and everybody was like, "How the heck did that happen?" And then it was kind of up and down. They beat VCU, which was a good win, and then they lost to a couple teams that they should have easily beat. And then Bo Ryan leaves at the end of the semester, and Greg Gard comes in, and nobody's really giving the Badgers a vote of confidence. But they've come on as of late. Ethan Happ's played a big role. Vito Brown showed up, which some people expected. He's actually getting playing time under Greg Gard, and the Badgers keep finding a way to win, and they've beaten some pretty good teams this year.
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, before the year started, yes, I would have expected this. When they started losing to those smaller schools, Western Illinois, Milwaukee, 9-9, I didn't think they'd be where they are. When they were 1-4 in conference, I looked at their schedule. I knew they could win at least 6. They had a nice 6-game stretch where I knew they could win. But the ranked teams on the road, that's where they got me, and that's where they've really got me going. I'm really pumped about this team all of a sudden, beating Iowa, Michigan State at home, Maryland dominating them on the road. Nobody wants to play them come March. All right, this week they're at Minnesota on Wednesday, at Purdue to close out the regular season on Sunday. Do they keep themselves in the top 4?
Absolutely. I think they might drop that game to Purdue because Purdue's playing great basketball right now, but a game against the other team you mentioned, Minnesota. That should be no problem. They've been pretty bad all year. So I think the Badgers will take another one in the barn.
I'm going to say yes, and I think they're going to sweep both games. Minnesota's having a down year, but the barn is always a tough place to play, and Purdue is a great team this year, but I think Red Guard's going to have them prepared the right way, and I think they're going to come out with a upset over Purdue.
Yeah, I think they sweep both games the way they've been playing right now. They're relying a lot on the three-pointer, which sometimes get tricky, but right now they're hitting them. So, well, moving on to high school basketball, the WIAA playoffs for boys basketball start tonight. But first, we'll talk about the Spash Panthers, who have a bye tonight since they are the #1 team in the state in Division I. Can they repeat as state champions?
Absolutely. There's nobody stopping them. The only team that's going to stop them is themselves. I mean, you got Sam Hauser's 6'6" over there. Trevor Anderson's averaging 25 a game. I mean, that team's pretty good. They got a lot of guys up and down, top to bottom of that roster that can get the job done. Coach Anderson knows what he's doing. There's nobody that's going to stop them.
Why the hell not? They're the #1 team in the state. The only team that could really give them trouble is Germantown, and if I read the bracket right, they won't meet up until they get to Madison, the state tournament time.
They also beat Germantown in the regular season.
Yeah, and the Hauser brothers are playing great. The coach's son is playing great this season too, so why not the Panthers again?
Yeah, I really don't see anybody who could beat them. I mean, there's a Milwaukee Riverside. They got a D1 recruit. They got a chance to beat them. Germantown, they already played Germantown. I don't see Germantown beating them. When you have a team with 3 Division I recruits, that don't happen very often in Wisconsin, you're tough to beat. So I definitely think they're going all the way again, and this time undefeated instead of with 1 loss. Well, Pacelli plays tonight when they host as the 7th seed when they host 10th seeded Reedsville. How far can the Cardinals go in the tournament?
Well, I think they're going to win that first round game and maybe even another game. Although it's that 7-10 matchup that we see in the college brackets where 10's usually upset that 7, but I think Pacelli will hold strong at that 7 seed. They finally got a home game to play in the playoffs. Last year was a little tougher for them, but they've rebounded nicely this year, and I think they'll get the job done.
If I read this correctly before, that Pacelli and Reedsville are both 9 and 13 teams, so maybe Pacelli will win this first round game just because they're playing at home, but I don't really see them going any further than a first round win.
Yeah, Pacelli, I think they win tonight, but then they'll end up going to the 2 seed, and I don't think they're going to make it past this weekend. But I forgot to mention before, it's finally March, guys. Are you guys ready for March Madness?
This whole college basketball season has been madness since the beginning, so I've been ready for a long time.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think Mother Nature has other ideas about March, but I'm pumped.
Yeah, this is the last week of the regular season for college basketball. Starting next weekend, they got conference tournaments and other regional or sectional finals for high school basketball. I'm not going to leave the couch next week. I'm watching conference tournaments. So, well, we'll take a short commercial break, but when we return, we have our Motorsports Minute and the NFL Scouting Combine.
How can you get involved with student media at UWSP? Connecting with your campus television station, SBTV, is easy. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Vine, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Pinterest, follow us on Instagram, or connect with us on Google+. But of course, the best way for you to get involved and stay up to date with all that is happening at our station is to stop by our studio. We're located in the Communication Arts Center at UWSP, Studio B, Room 121. You can also drop by our office, Room 130, for more information on station happenings. We can't wait to get you involved. Come join us at SPTV. Let's make media together.
Interested in TV and like to talk about sports? Then Final Take is the thing for you. Final Take films every Tuesday at 4 p.m. in the CAC Room 121. Come and join the fun. At Final Take, anything pointers, anything sports. Welcome back. Jimmy Johnson secured his spot in the chase by winning at Atlanta this past weekend after he pitted early on his final stop, and then held on the late restart in the overtime rules after there was a late wreck on the white flag lap. Kyle Busch took third, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. finished second in the race. Matt Kenseth had woes again after he had a pit road penalty and didn't pit on time under the black flag, and was therefore NASCAR stopped counting his laps and had bad luck again after he lost the lead on the last lap at Daytona. Guys, what is your thoughts on the early NASCAR season so far?
You're putting me to sleep already. Boogity, boogity, boogie. Let's stop talking about racing. That's what I have to say.
I really, honestly, I could care less. I've never watched a full NASCAR race in my life, and I really don't plan on it. The only time I really get interested in it is Matt Kenseth wins just because he's from Wisconsin. So other than that, I really don't.
What exactly is the overtime rule, though? I don't know.
Well,
I don't get it.
they
What's
used-
like
they-
what's
sudden
overtime?
death
and
or
what?
what?
They used to have it as they got 3 restarts, and if they got to the white flag, the race was over. But this year, they added an overtime line, which is different for each track. It's somewhere on the backstretch, and they get as many starts as possible to get to that overtime line. If they don't get to that overtime line, they keep going. If they get to that overtime line, the next flag ends it, whether it's the white flag, checker flag, yellow flag, you name it, whatever. And it just so happened this weekend there was a wreck coming out of turn 2, and the race was called after that. But Matt Kenseth, he's had his woes early, had a chance to win the Daytona 500, went up to block his teammate, ended up 14th. Had the pit road penalty this weekend, and there was confusion with his team. Didn't pit once he was black flagged, and ended up losing 2 laps since there were hardly any cautions this week. And then there's a new aero package this year, so it'll be interesting. So far, they haven't really had much to do about it, but it puts the drivers more in control. The cars are a little bit harder to drive, so we'll see how it goes.
You're speaking a foreign language.
You guys
to me
got
right
nothing?
now. Speaking a foreign language to me.
Well, this weekend they're at Las Vegas Motor Speedway on Sunday. All right, to the NFL Scouting Combine, which was held this past weekend in Indianapolis. Who do you guys think improved their draft stock?
I think Darren Lee, the linebacker from Ohio State, he ran a 4.47 40. He showed good footwork in the cone drills and in other drills, and I really think that he's going to rocket up some draft boards.
I think one guy is Vernon Hargraves from Florida, the defensive back. I think he ran a 40 time. That was like about a second slower than what Patrick Pearson was, and about 1 or 2 seconds faster than what Richard Sherman ran when he was doing his combine scouting. So I think he's a guy to look out for. He's been a top 5, top 10 draft pick that's looking like all year. But I think a guy that's going down, I think, is Joey Bosa. He did have a decent combine, although not great. He had the same stats as J.J. Watt, though, so if you want to play that card. But another wild card guy who ran a 4.6, faster than about 10 receivers and 5 running backs, is the kicker from Iowa. He ran a 4.6, Justin.
I don't think
Remember
speed.
that.
I don't think speed matters too much for a kicker unless
Hey, never
the kick
know.
returns and kickoffs. So I think I heard Jalen Ramsey, the DB from Florida State, really had an impressive workout yesterday. And as you mentioned, the D linemen, I think a lot of the D linemen were under 5 seconds or 5.2. A lot of them really impressed. Well, who didn't improve? Who hurt their draft stock?
I think Darian Thompson, the safety from Boise State, he was in some mock drafts, he was a late end of the first round, early second round pick. He ran a 4.69 40, which is a little bit slower than you would like most defensive backs to work, and then you would like most defensive backs to run. And then he showed his footwork wasn't that great in the drills either.
Yeah, I think a few guys are basically all the receivers. I mean, this class has been talked about as is terrible. I mean, you got Corey Coleman and Laquan Treadwell is really the only prime receivers in this draft, and I think one of those guys needed to step up throughout this week and kind of make a name for himself. I mean, we've kind of seen that in the past few drafts where Brandon Cooks has been a guy that's jumped off in the combine and he's boosted his draft stock, and I don't think any other receiver really did that this week.
Yeah, I agree. The receivers were downright terrible. They were slow as could be. All the DBs a lot of them were faster than the wide receivers. So besides the top 3 of like Josh Johnson, Laquan Treadwell, and Will Fuller or Corey Coleman from Notre Dame, it's not really a deep class at wide receiver. Well, who do you guys have the Packers drafting after this combine?
It's coming down to 2 players, Hunter Henry, the tight end from Arkansas, I believe, And then Darren Lee, the linebacker from Ohio State. There's been a few mock drafts with him going to the Packers, but I really think he upped his draft stock with his performance at the Combine.
Yeah, it's got to be an outside linebacker, or any linebacker really, whether it's outside or inside. I mean, you talk Darren Lee, it better not be a tight end, let me tell you that, Ben, or I'm not going to be happy if it's a tight end in the first round. That's unnecessary. I think another guy, though, is Noah Spence from Eastern Kentucky. He's kind of jumped up there. Went to smaller schools, smaller D1 schools, so he wasn't recognized as much. He's going to jump back up on those draft boards. I think that'd be a great addition for this Packers team.
I think the only way the Packers do get somebody like Noah Spence is if they trade up, and Ted Thompson really hasn't shown that he likes to trade up in the draft, then I think that a team in the top 15, top 10 range is going to like Noah Spence enough to take him with a pick.
Could also be Reggie Ragland. I mean, Clay Matthews is moving back to outside linebacker, and Ragland's like, yeah, I got this feeling that I want to go. Green Bay is going to draft me, so.
I wish. I don't think he'll be there, though, at 27. I mean, they're talking him going top 10, even top 15.
All right, other NFL news, the franchise tag deadline was today with Josh Norman getting franchise tagged, Von Miller, Alshon Jeffrey, and a couple of others. What do you guys think of those moves?
I think the bigger moves were kind of the ones that didn't get the tag and were released or just signed to a contract. Sam Bradford, quarterback from the Philadelphia Eagles, re-signed a 2-year, $36 million deal with $26 guaranteed. It sounds like Chip Kelly's still running that team over there with a kind of contract like that and the kind of player that he is. So I think that was a mistake for them. I think Kirk Cousins is an interesting choice. I mean, the Redskins were kind of on his side the past few years with the whole RG3 situation. They stuck with him, but yet they give him the franchise tag. Couldn't agree on a contract. So I think that's kind of interesting. But I think a guy like Olivier Vernon from Miami, the defensive end, just getting the franchise tag and getting the transition tag, and allowing other teams to make offers for him is an interesting thing that I think somebody might do at just $12.5 million.
I think the Bears not being able to get a long-term deal done with Alshon Jeffrey is a little bit concerning. I mean, he's really one of the few offensive weapons the Bears have. He's obviously their number one receiver there. And then Mario Williams getting cut by the Bills. He signed a big contract, 2-3 years ago, and he didn't really have that great of a year with Rex Ryan's style of defense. So maybe somehow they work something out where he goes back to Buffalo or he gets a big contract again in free agency from a different team.
Yeah, free agency coming up in the next 2 weeks. It'll be interesting to see how teams fill their needs before the draft arrives at the end of April. Well, that's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank Nathan Hansen and Ben Zatuni for joining me today. I'd like to thank the technical staff for all their hard work for making this show possible. And a big thing, and make sure to check us out on Facebook at SPTV UWSP Television or follow us on Twitter at SPTV_UWSP. Also visit the UWSP homepage for all your local Pointer athletic information. And just remember, fellow Pointers, here at Final Take, anything Pointers, anything sports.
Don't have a television? Don't worry. SPTV is available on demand at uwsp.edu/SPTV. Find your favorite shows on our website, plus links to all of our YouTube content. Stay up to date with SPTV news that includes information about campus and community happenings. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, we're SPTV-UWSP Television. SPTV. Let's make media together.
Hey you! Are you creative? Do you like television? Would you like to make a show that appears on air? Then SPTV is the place for you. At SPTV, you can appear on air, learn how to shoot and edit video, write and produce your own show, and most importantly, gain skills and experiences that will last a lifetime. Want to join us at SPTV? Come check us out in the Communication Arts Center, rooms 121 and 130. We'd love to meet you. SPTV. Let's make media together.
Don't let the snow and cold get you down this winter. The frozen tundra outside may keep you indoors, but here at SPTV, we'll still be getting you the best news, sports coverage, and entertainment that you need. Don't freeze your fingers and toes off to find out what's happening around campus. Stay warm, everyone.